Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about how there's a new developer in town in BC. As per the BC budget announced by the NDP government, we're going to talk about the housing initiatives that they have within the budget and how that's going to affect the real estate market moving forward. If this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hassan. I'm a real estate agent in Vancouver, and I make educational real estate content to help you in your real estate journey. I also make content to help you make your move in and around Vancouver. So if that sounds interesting to you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future video. And if you want to talk with me one-on-one, you can book me on the Calendly link below. So in the BC budget that was announced last week, $4.2 billion is going to go towards housing initiatives. The big one that we're going to talk about today, which I think is the most significant on various levels, is $400 million of which is being set aside for the BC government to purchase land along SkyTrain routes. And not just for affordable housing, but also for market housing. Market housing essentially means selling those properties at market value. So in essence, the BC government now is becoming a for-profit developer. Now at face value, you may look at that and hear that and think, okay, this is not a good thing. Why are they getting into the business of trying to profit off the community? But when we look deeper into it, we can see some really specific reasons why they may be going down this route and how it can actually be beneficial for most parties involved in real estate in Vancouver. So one of the things we have to remember about BC, and right from the city level up to the province level, is that our city is designed for real estate prices to appreciate. The BC NDP government or the provincial government, whoever's in government at that time, they rely on property prices appreciating. The municipal governments, they rely on property prices appreciating, all about taxation and how much income they're able to generate from the real estate market. Let's take a look, for example, at the BC provincial government. So we have seen over the last year, we've seen sale prices drop roughly about 10%. Across the province, I would say, depending on the product type, but say have dropped 10%. And one of the big revenue drivers of that provincial government is the property transfer tax. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but this is a significant component of their income when it comes to real estate. And how that tax works is it is 1% of the first 200,000 and then 2% above that up to 2 million. So if we look at, for example, the average price of a home in BC, it's roughly around $1 million. That would entail $18,000 in property transfer tax that goes to the provincial government. So when we look at where we're at in the real estate market now, prices have dropped, 10%, let's say on average over the last year. So now we're taking that property transfer tax and we are cutting some obviously some tax off of that. And then also when sales quantity is down 40, 50%, you can imagine what that does financially for the provincial government. And let's not kid ourselves, governments are businesses. So they do not actually want to see real estate prices come down. They definitely don't want to see transactions shrink as much as they have. So from the BC government perspective, they're looking at this like, we can get into this game. If you can't beat them, join them is one way to think about it. But it doesn't necessarily have negative implications on the consumer. I think there's a way where this is actually a win-win strategy. We've talked about on my channel how the BC provincial government has put targets onto municipalities to push development proposals along. Now, here's one way to look at it is now if the provincial government is the stakeholder, if they're the ones that own that land, if they're the ones that are putting the proposals through the municipalities, and we don't know exactly how that's going to work, whether literally the boss is going to be putting a proposal application to their employee's desk, probably not, but it's very unlikely to get hung up through the processing level. It's probably going to get fast-tracked. So by the BC government actually getting into the development game, they're taking a more hands-on approach to controlling the supply, specifically in transit-oriented sites, which is where we need them the most. Also areas where properties appreciate the most. So from the government side of things, they're putting the money into the right areas for their budget, for their pocketbook. They're going to have a much stronger control over processing that application and getting these projects approved and bringing more housing supply to the market. So ultimately, everyone wins. Now, on the municipal level, how they rely on the real estate market flourishing is they need developers to be putting applications forward. And when the market slows down as it has, we've talked about on my channel, some developers hold off because they don't want to start that stage of paying money for permits and having to get that ball rolling when the market is softer. And the developers that can hold on to the land and not do anything with it for now, they may choose to do that. But when that happens, the municipalities, the cities, they don't get as much money in development fees, obviously, because not as many proposals are happening. So it hurts their revenue as well from a city perspective. So this well-oiled machine, I would say, of real estate in BC, on every level, people are relying on real estate to appreciate. Obviously, from a homeowner level, when real estate appreciates, people gain more equity, they gain more consumer confidence, they're spending more money, they're putting more money into the economy. We know this because of where inflation has taken us. We saw real estate prices skyrocket essentially, and people were feeling great. They had a lot of equity. They were either using that for second properties, or they're planning vacations, or they were doing home renovations. So people were confident in spending a lot of money. So this circle in BC real estate, when it comes to real estate values, when they appreciate, and unfortunately it benefits everyone except for the tenant. So when it comes to the tenant, what the BC provincial government is going to do is a couple of things. So they're earmarking about $90 million towards homeowners, incentivizing them to create secondary suites, basement suites, for instance. So this is an effort to create more rental housing supply for the tenant. The government is also following through on one of their election promises of at the time, I think it was proposed as a cash rebate towards tenants or renters, but it's going to be a tax credit of up to $400 per household, depending on the income level. You would get the full amount if you make $60,000 or less as a household, and then that $400 would shrink as you head towards $80,000. Beyond $80,000, there would be no credit left. In terms of other ways that the BC government is protecting rentals in the budget, we've talked about it again on my channel, the Rental Protection Fund. It's $500 million set aside for grants towards nonprofit companies to purchase older rental buildings essentially and keep them as rentals. What does often happen is those properties are eyed by developers to purchase and develop new stratified property with some rental component, affordable housing component to compensate for taking the rentals off the market. But that fund now is going to aid nonprofits to be able to purchase these rental buildings. Now, the other thing the BC government is doing is they're setting aside $575 million towards post-secondary institutions in providing more student housing around the province. And then they've also put aside about $15 or $16 million towards the residential tenancy branch to speed up the sorting out of issues essentially between landlords and tenants. So when I look at the budget in its entirety, I think it's a positive thing when it comes to housing initiatives. Keeping in mind we don't have all of the full details yet, I think what this does is it helps everyone. It helps the provincial government, it helps the municipalities from a financial perspective. It gives the provincial government even more control with getting projects approved and getting through the bureaucracy. And also, I think from a supply perspective, I think it is going to be helpful. Now, if you learned something from this video, it would be awesome if you could hit the like button and consider subscribing to this channel. What that does is it takes this video and it sends it out to more people who can learn from it as well. I'm also going to cover these policies as we learn more information about them in the future. So stay tuned to this channel. If you're in the Vancouver area and you need any real estate help yourself and you want to talk to me one-on-one so I can give you some more tailored guidance, if you will, you can book me in the Calendly link below, or you can send me a text, shoot me an email, give me a call, whatever's easier for you. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.